Fuck them Cowboys! Yeah! Never lose sight of the magic of this football team. Yeah! Here we go!
I'm all in.
Cowboys fans, it's your host Slater here. If you bleed silver and blue and you want honest talk, no filters, you're in the right place. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, and enjoy the video. And let's kind of start off with what I already got up there. You know, Christian Parker. You know, he was the Cowboys defensive coordinator that the Cowboys decided to hire. Great hire, by the way, but he's been very busy. You know, starting off with hiring some defensive coordinator assistant hires so far. You know, Derek Ansley as the defensive back coach and defensive pass game coordinator. Ryan Smith, secondary and cornerbacks coach. And then Uzo Diribe. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, guys, but that's a tough name to pronounce. But he's going to be your outside linebackers coach. And Marcus Dixon, who I think you mentioned to me is a former Dallas Cowboys player. But
yeah,
he will be our defensive
2008 to 2010.
Yeah, he's taking over for Aaron Whitecon. But Mike, give me your first opinion about these guys, or just kind of if you want to go one by one, let's do it. But give me your thoughts on this so far.
Well, I'll tell you this. This is what I like about this. This is the same thing that happened with the Cowboys offense staff when Shoddy took over. You know, he just went around the league and collected who he felt was young and upcoming and had talented and proven it on tape and with the results on the field. And I have a feeling that he's behind a lot of this along with Christian Parker. He was a big part of that hire. So to watch them go and assemble this defensive coaching staff like this bodes really, really well, not only for us as Cowboys fans, but I think for the future of the league. Because as we've stated throughout this podcast, Christian Parker, we're hoping he's going to be here for a few years, right? And then with, you know, Derek and Marcus, Ryan Smith, and now Chidera Uzo Diribe, I think that we're solidifying talent for 4 or 5 years so that after at least 2 years, maybe 3, if Christian Parker leaves, you can turn to one of these guys who's already excelling as, you know, defensive assistant coaches or positional coaches to take over from there, knowing the scheme and continue it into the future if, you know, the DC ends up departing over time. I know Marcus Dixon. I watched him play. I'm getting more familiar with Christian Parker. The other 2 guys, you know, the other 3 guys, actually, I don't really know other than what you see from, you know, their scouting and reading what's been put out there about them. It's hard to know, but I do like the approach to the hiring process with this so far. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I'm on the same page with you, man. It's nice to finally kind of flip the script on what the Cowboys, as Cowboys fans, what we've been used to.
Right.
Watching Jerry Jones hire his friends or hire guys who were here 10 years ago, hire guys who have failed somewhere else, but thinking that they could have the redemption chance. It's nice to just kind of, you know, Jerry Jones, take a step back here. Take a step back. We're good. You know, Brian Schottenheimer, you proved yourself last year hiring your staff. Christian Parker, we're going to let you do your thing, man. You know, you got Schottenheimer, you got a lot of veteran experience and guys who have been coordinators forever to help you get your hires in. But I'm really excited on bringing guys in from different teams, you know, like Derek Ansley, right? He's the former Packers passing game coordinator, right? So obviously he's going to bring a lot of experience in our secondary play and, you know, coverage concepts, right? Whether it's man or zone, right? Whatever Christian Parker's looking to do, whether it's early Vic Fangio schemes or something that he has a twist on his own already. Maybe he's already to spin the wheels on some stuff. Ryan Smith, right? He's a former Arizona Cardinals cornerbacks coach, but now he's here to coach Dallas's secondary. You know, they have some really good corners out there in Arizona, especially when he just got Will Johnson out there. So, and, you know, the Uzo guy, you know, he's a highly regarded coach from Georgia, and he's been a part of a strong defensive program. Like who else knows, or what else do you know the Georgia Bulldogs for other than the defense, right? I mean, that's all they're known for. So it's great to kind of bring a guy in like him. Now, what's interesting is, you know, an outside linebackers coach. Let me ask you this question. How do you feel about Dallas hiring a outside linebackers coach? I don't think we've really kind of run like you called it, you know, a couple episodes ago, a 3-4 scheme, you know, where you're kind of using more of outside linebackers as your edge protectors, or, you know, how do you feel about an outside linebackers coach?
Well, I think it's the best idea that they've had with staffing in a long time. All these guys are young. Like, young. I mean, I'm 44, but I consider myself to be young. And the oldest guy on this staff right now, I believe, is Derek Ainsley, who's 30 days older than me. And he's 44 as well. He was born in 1981. So that tells you these guys are all young. They have a lot of energy. And the fact that we're bringing in that specific outside linebackers coach tells me that the front office recognizes that we struggled really, really significantly on linebackers. And under this scheme that Christian Parker is going to provide, he needs someone giving those guys directions for what the scheme is intended to produce. So instead of trying to oversee so many positional players, he's bringing in someone that he can delegate to control just that position. So I think it's a really good thing. I think that he obviously is going to fit in the scheme, but it gives direct attention to a position that we had as a weakness. So that tells me they're going to take pressure off of our defensive line, because they're going to soup up this linebacker core, and it's probably going to be a focus in the draft to go out and create a staffing position for it and a need for it. So I think this all points in the right direction. You know, like we've been saying, it's all going to wash out in what we do in free agency and then how we handle the draft after that.
Yeah, I love this hire of an outside linebackers coach. I think you nailed it right there. I think what the coolest thing about this is it's probably going to bring a different twist. Something like you said, it's different. It's something that Dallas is not used to. But, you know, what kind of free agents maybe we go after? Maybe what kind of guys are we going to draft in the later rounds? That could be kind of some of these guys who fit under him and his player personnel that we're going to get for outside linebackers. But even Marcus Dixon, right? I think you know a little bit more about him than I do, but obviously he's reuniting with Parker and he brings a lot of NFL experience. Do you think he'll be better than Whitecon?
It's hard to say whether someone's going to be better, right?
Yeah.
I think, unfortunately for White Cotton, he was a victim of circumstances.
Yep.
You know, you get on a staff like that where everything went wrong and you're guilty by association. You know, they probably liked him. They probably thought he was talented and capable. That's why they interviewed him, you know, to maybe help his career in the future. And they gave him the opportunity to kind of run things from the sideline when they kicked old boy up into the booth. But I just don't think they saw enough to give him that faith that he's going to be able to make a significant enough impact on the defense going forward, because it's going to take a huge impact on this defense. If not a direct turnaround next year, the season after that, there are going to be high expectations for this defense because they're going against their own script here 100%. They're doing things they don't normally do. Yeah. I don't think he would have gotten hired if he wasn't the right fit for the job. So I can say that much. I think it's going to help, but can I say he's a good producer when it comes to what's going to come out onto the field? From what I've seen and heard, it seems so. But we've got to see what this actually looks like on film.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll take a step back. I may have asked you a little bit of an unfair question, right? It's always hard to tell whether a coach a coach is going to be better than another coach because circumstances can be different. You know, this defensive staff is going to get to start with hopefully a healthy and a really good core, right? When we started last year, you know, and we were kind of starting our podcast at the beginning of the year, we hyped up a lot of guys that we thought were going to be good, right? We thought,
we were terrified. We had lost Micah.
Yeah, you know, we lost Micah, but we were like, you know, Sam Williams, Marshawn Nealon, you know, guys like Ezaraku. We thought they were going to play to some super high potential. And those guys, you know, it's not that they didn't step up. It's, you know, they just weren't ready like a Micah Parsons, right? It's hard to replace Micah Parsons, especially when you trade him, a week or two before the season. Like, no one predicts that, right? And unfortunately for Matt Eberflus, from what he said at the end of the season, he said that his whole scheme went down the gutter when Micah Parsons got traded, which one, that's a horrible thing for a fan to hear. And two, I'm really surprised that you rode your whole entire season on Micah Parsons. I mean, I get it. I mean, I know the guy's good, but You can't ride
He
everything
didn't even
on him.
finish the season in Green Bay, so it's like you got to have some kind of contingency plan.
Injuries happen. It's just a part of the game.
Yeah, I think this was doomed from get-go. I don't like hiring a failed head coach when you're I don't like the whole situation with Eberflus in Dallas. And unfortunately, like to get back to answer the question a different way with Aaron Whitecotton, if you're looking at what Whitecotton produced under Eberflus and you're looking at what the new incoming coach we just hired has produced, obviously you're going to think he's the better choice. Aaron Whitecotton could still go on and have success somewhere. In fact, the players on our defense, which a lot of them are going to be moving on, they could still go somewhere else and have a successful couple years or even the remainder of their career. Kenneth Murray's still young. He could go elsewhere and be productive. But I think because of the scheme, the situation of this being a mill piece offense, a defense, and just the way the season went, it was already doomed. It was off the tracks before it ever got started. We took a huge hit, so.
Yeah, I mean, they started off with injuries. They didn't even have Quinnen Williams until later in the season. But this defensive staff,
we had no secondary for the first half of the year.
This defensive staff is really going to get to start from, the early days of training camp, even before that, when the voluntary camps are happening, and really get to diagnose this or really input this scheme and really get to where they want to get before week 1 happens. And I don't think that's something that we were going to get at all last year. And so that's probably why I have excitement personally. Like I'm excited to these coaches to kind of finally get in a room together, work under Schottenheimer, work under Parker. And like you said, bring those innovative ideas, bring those, because these guys at the end of the day, they're still looking to not job hop, but like promotions, right? That's all the league's about. It's all about that next step up. Right. And this is a great way to do it. You come under somebody young.
The proving grounds.
Yeah, it's the proving grounds. Exactly. And so.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point, man. The defense next year is as opposed to this year, like you said, they're going to have, healthy players. We're going to have our starting cornerbacks who we wanted to be on the field from the beginning of the year. They're going to be on the field immediately. Our linebackers are going to be on the field immediately. We won't have to wait until after Thanksgiving versus the Raiders to get, our star linebacker back on the field. Clowney will be, a full participant during, preseason workouts and training camp, and he'll start the season right. So everything is pointing up and up for this, but we do have a staff issue, and that's what we got to address. But there are a lot more advantages to what this group is walking into versus what Eberflus walked into. But with the experience that he supposedly was going to bring to this thing, we should have been at least a middle of the road defense throughout the year, and we were the worst.
Yeah. And I'm going to compare this in probably a horrible way, but I kind of feel like it's like the Mavericks, what they're kind of experiencing right now. Like, they trade away Luka Doncic and, you kind of get hit with this like shock of taking whatever is left and the Mavericks trying to put something together and it doesn't work out. Well, with the Mavericks at the deadline this past week, they trade away AD and they trade away, like they got opened up all this cap, right? And that's kind of the situation Dallas is in, right? They got rid of Micah Parsons so they could, have all this money and all in these picks to really kind of solidify the defensive side of the ball, because we know what the offense is. We know what this offense is going to do next year. And if you think you're slowing it down, okay, we may not be number 1, but we're probably going to be top 3 either way, no matter what happens, as long as we take care of business, right? And we'll get into that. But this defense, Quinnen Williams is going to be healthy. Kenny Clark's going to be healthy. Osai, I assume, is still going to be on team and healthy. You're going to have Ezaraku. You're probably going to get an edge in the draft, whether it's Bain or Bailey. And then you're going to have Overshown healthy for the first time. I mean, we haven't had a truly healthy Overshown to start the season since, I guess he started in 2024 under Zimmer, but he wasn't, that's like his first games, right? You're going to get a fully healthy offseason from Overshown. He's not coming off injuries. Yeah, that's exactly. And you know what kind of player he is when he's fully healthy. He already runs around like a madman when he comes back from injury.
And now he's got experience. He sees the game. It's slowed down for him now. So, and then with a coaching staff that's, with a positional hire that's directly responsible for that group, that just says more for the potential there.
Does somebody, let me ask you this, does somebody like a Luafau, benefit from an outside linebackers coach? Because that's what's more of a role that he fits, right? He's not really like a middle linebacker, but he's kind of like an outside linebacker. Does he benefit off an outside linebackers coach?
I think any kind of coach that deals with linebackers is going to benefit.
Yeah.
100%. I hate to keep scapegoating and blaming this on last year's defense. And I won't even say this is a Matt Eberflus thing.
Yeah.
I just think that these guys were so scheme trapped that we didn't even get to see what they're capable of, truly, because Luafau is talented. And I think he could have offered a lot more, but you can't just bring a guy in every other game on 15 plays and expect him to develop that way, and his only assignment is run ball, see ball, chase ball.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what they did with several of our players that, were already on the team from last year. And then they get replaced by a scab that is not going to be on the team next year. And they just lost a year of development with that kind of bullshit. So it's going to be interesting to see how this works. But anytime you get a player and a coach together and a chance to develop, the player is going to benefit from that, and he's going to grow. So I'm excited. I mean, I really am. The more I see what we do here, the more excited I get about this. I love linebackers. It's my favorite position. So hopefully we can develop the personnel a little bit more and add to it.
Yeah.
There are players, available. There's a couple, and then there's obviously a 2 or 3 that are really good in the draft. So,
well, it's just like you mentioned, right? You hate to scapegoat it. You hate to put the blame on last year, and you hate to kind of just point the fingers to it all. But I can't help but do it because even when if our viewers out there haven't seen it yet, go look at our past, we even got, miniature videos of it, our depth chart review so far. It's hard to really kind of fully develop, like review these guys because you felt like they didn't get to do anything different. You felt like that they were stuck to this one job and this exact job, and you got to see no like playmaking ability or, natural football instincts. What does Leofau do when he's naturally playing instead of forced to go drop in the flats or something, and he's too slow to do it, and now everyone's mad at him because he didn't get out there in time. And it's like, these are the things that we're battling. And I feel like with this staff here, you may get hopefully a lot more, hey, we're going to lean on your football skills more than we are going to be schematic, but we're going to be schematically strong. Yeah, sound, right? But we're going to really lean on overshown for you and your speed to be like football smart, because we're going to teach you the scheme right, and then we're going to let your instincts play, because that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that's the right direction to go. You see what your guys can do. You build a staff, right? You evaluate who you have. You bring in components you need that scheme is going to be missing. Yep. And you draft to fill for the future, hopefully, if everything plays out right. And then you watch your guys and you say, okay, this is what these guys can do well. So here's how we're going to scheme things so that we maximize the talent and the abilities of the personnel we have, instead of trying to build a scheme that has no holes by being so bland that nobody can really do anything outside of their role and use their natural talent, instincts, and ability to make a play. And that's where I feel the mistake was made last year. I think it was too much. This is how I run things, and this is what I will do. This is how I prepare for the games, and this is how I will study, instead of this is how I can improve what we already have, and this is what I can do with it. And that's ultimately what I believe happened.
And I think that's where you see a bunch of reasons why our players may have seemed uncomfortable in the scheme last year.
100%.
Because you and I, right, we both
nobody looked natural, man.
Yeah.
Nobody looked like they looked last year playing on the field.
You and I both play football, right?
Right.
We didn't go past our high school days, but when you felt good about, something as simple as a high school scheme, and you understood where you were supposed to look, where your eyes are supposed to be, you and I both play linebacker, so your eyes are supposed to be on the guards. You see the guards pull, you flow that way. You see a quarterback drop, you start dropping, right? But when a full defensive team knows the scheme and they're flowing smoothly, the football instincts take it from a top 20 defense to a top 10, because you're all in sync and you trust each other. Last year, I don't think anyone trusted each other. I don't think anyone knew what was going on. Every time that a ball went over our heads, you got safeties pointing at each other. You got corners looking around. You got Trayvon Diggs confused. You got Bland, on an island that with no help, which understandably he's our cornerback one, but at the same time, maybe he didn't understand that he's supposed to be inside that guy or outside pressing that guy, and you get the one word schemes. I still hold on to that. Like when they said we're going to make things simple by make play calls one word, we should have known we were in trouble in week 4.
That's bad.
Like,
but on top of that, just to add to what you're saying, you got guys who haven't played with each other yet. You know, one group of cornerbacks is playing this week. Now, the next week after that guy's hurt. So we're bringing in this guy and another guy. And it's just like, not only is it difficult to interpret what your assignment is, but now you got to communicate with teammates that you've never seen out on the field with you. Right.
Yep.
So that just, it adds to the pressure and, the dysfunction and the inability to understand what you're supposed to do. And that happened all year long. I mean, I looked, and there was only a few games where the same staff that played, their same personnel that played the week before played the next week. And it was just catastrophic. It was horrible.
Yeah.
So it's wild.
Yeah. But I mean, I love what's going on, and I truly think that they need to keep their foot on the